Hi, welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch. Well, for now, it looks like the market may break into the green. The Nifty, in fact, is moving in closer to that flat line. But let's talk about some developments from late last evening. The GST Council meet ended very late at night, but no consensus has been reached on how they're looking to, compensate or fill in the borrowing for the shortfall in the GST compensation cess. Tim C has those highlights. Tim C.
Well, after several hours of discussion, the GST Council could not reach a consensus on the issue of borrowing to make good for the shortfall in the compensation cess kitty. However, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, after the council meeting, in her address to the press said that she is open to further discussions when it comes to the dialogue with the opposition states. But in the meantime, she would like to allow the states which are ready to borrow funds under the option 1 suggested by Centre. Government is very clear that Centre cannot and will not borrow the funds, and it is for the states who will have to borrow, with an understanding that the repayment will be done through the cess collections made beyond June 2022. The borrowing will be done through bonds, and Union FM asked the Department of Economic Affairs to streamline the process at the earliest so that the states which have shown the intent can borrow at the earliest. However, in a stormy meeting, only 12 states agreed to borrowing. 10 wanted Centre to borrow, and remaining did not clarify their stand. So to now wait and watch for is which are these states who are going ahead with the borrowing and who come up first with the proposal of borrowing. What is the recourse that the 10 opposition states take as they question Union FM post hearing the press conference for not announcing any conclusion in the meeting, rather making her intent clear via a press conference, which they call is illegal. Also, we'll keep you posted on what happens to the remaining states who haven't made their intent clear as to whether they want Centre to borrow or will they go ahead themselves to borrow. Let's see what happens next. Back to you.
Majority of the states, as you know, had opted for option 1. On the one hand, they were repeatedly asking for speedily get us the money. We are fighting Corona on the one hand. We also want the revival to happen very quickly. Festivals are coming. We need action in the ground, so help us to borrow as soon as possible. On the other, you had states which kept saying, no, let us decide on the basis of consensus. There was no consensus arrived on a matter on which differences exist. GST Council has been gracious enough in unanimously agreeing to extend the cess beyond 5 years. So if beyond 5 years the cess is being collected to repay the principal and the interest of the entire compensation, not just this compensation or that compensation, but the entire compensation, there is just no dispute.
All right, so that was the Finance Minister. Now remember that a push for the infrastructure projects always pushes the pedal on economic activity. So the government sources tell us that the Department of Economic Affairs has reached out to states to push speedy implementation of the infrastructure projects. Our colleague Anshu joins in with all the details on what's on the agenda. Anshu.
That's right. We learned from sources in the government that Department of Economic Affairs has asked states to appoint senior officers for speedy implementation of infrastructure projects. It has also asked states to identify brownfield projects for asset monetization and has asked states to list such projects on India Investment Grid portal. Remember, government has 100 lakh crore rupees national infrastructure pipeline targeted to be commissioned by FY25. DA has also asked all infrastructure ministries to come up with innovative PPP financing models for speedy implementation of these projects, and also wants the ministries to bring in private sector participation. We also learned that government is looking for speedy implementation of key infrastructure projects for revival of jobs in the economy. Some 19 projects worth 13.5 lakh crore rupees under Urban Development Ministry like urban housing, metro connectivity, and 24 projects under Ministry of Health worth over 80,000 crore rupees have been identified for speedy implementation. With that, it's back to you.
Anshu, thanks very much. Meanwhile, as farmers continue to protest the farm bills passed by Parliament, the government has now invited 31 farmer organizations in New Delhi tomorrow to hold talks on the bills that have been passed. Manisha has more on that. Manisha.
Well, thank you so much for that. This is the second time in a month that the government has extended an invite to the 31 farmer organizations which have been protesting for more than a month now. And this is against the 3 farm bills that the government did pass in the parliament. What we understand is that it is the Agriculture Secretary Sanjay Agarwal who will lead these talks. But even before the farmers say yes, or the farmer organizations say yes to the invite, they have a meeting of their own happening today. They also have preset conditions to the government even before they come for this meeting. 3 of these conditions are that the laws should be repealed when it comes to the 3 farm bills. They should be repealed even before there is a meeting or a conversation that happens between the centre and the farmers there. The farmers also are asking for a legal backing of the MSP. That clearly has been the #1 demand since they went on to the protest. The third is the farmers say that they will not talk to any officer or officials. They want to talk to the Agriculture Ministry, ministry representatives, or ministers from the PM office itself. They say that the talks should be with the committee authorized by the cabinet itself, otherwise there are going to be no conversations. So it is going to be important on what this meeting actually does take in tomorrow. Remember, even as all of this is happening, the government already has started procuring the Kharif crop on MSP, but there has been a lot of shutdowns, a lot of scarcity of availability of essential goods, because many of these farmers are protesting in Punjab and Haryana. So North India really is looking forward to this meeting tomorrow.
All right, a solution very much required to the controversial farm laws. Thanks, Manisha, for all those details. And with that, we'll slip into a short breather on Business Lunch. But up next, remember, doctors in New Delhi strike against the unpaid wages even as COVID-19 cases rise in the state. That and more after this very short break.